Welcome everybody to QuickBooks Online Update, Q3 2023 edition of Advanced Webinars. Okay, so it's going to be a long one today. It'll probably be about 90 minutes long. We do have a guest that's going to be with us for a little bit. We'll talk about her in a second. First time we bring a guest to the quarterly update, so it should be fun. And let's go over the table of contents. So we're going to start with Intuit and industry-related news. We're going to talk about Intuit's strategy for AI, or at least the announcement that they made for AI. We're going to talk about QBO Global, explain a little bit what that is and what's the context behind that. So again, we're going to do industry news. We'll talk about Intuit's strategy or what they've talked about AI. We're going to talk about QBO Global, explain that is. We're going to just give quick credit to the top 100 pro advisors, kind of discussing what that is. We'll talk about QuickBooks Checking's $5 million FDIC insurance, which is one of those, should be one of those interesting things for anyone that has worked maybe in banking in the past or something like that, where this seems like a totally weird new thing, okay? And we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about QuickBooks Online price changes, the strategy for price changes for QBO. So price changes are coming, and we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about the $50 a month assisted bookkeeping, some new product that QuickBooks is testing out. We'll talk briefly about all the new things that we added to RightTool, my app, the app that I designed in the last quarter. And then we'll talk about industry conferences. The conference season is upon us. It should be a lot of fun. Okay, so then after that, we'll jump into all versions of QuickBooks Online. So everything that's available in all versions of QuickBooks Online. The new merge contacts feature, probably the only really exciting thing that's come out across the board with all the versions of QuickBooks. And then we'll talk about QuickBooks Time rebrand. This is like the old Quick T-Sheets app that we changed into T-Sheets into QuickBooks Time, and then now it's getting a new rebrand. We'll talk about the QuickBooks Online desktop app. Just discuss that really quick. Then we'll talk about the new attachments to employees, and then 943 support for QuickBooks Payroll. And then lastly, we'll talk about QuickBooks Online Advanced, which is really where you're going to see the bulk of new features. Is always going to be in Advanced, because that's, you know, the Intuit's QuickBooks favorite kid. You know, like I have 4 kids. I can never tell you who my favorite kid is. QuickBooks has 4 versions: Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, and Advanced. And you always know who their favorite kid is. I mean, like super obvious in this particular scenario. So they've added tons of stuff to QuickBooks Online Advanced: spreadsheet sync, editing budgets, custom field to projects, visual workflow builder, which is really cool, refreshed permissions page, and a new revamped layout for QuickBooks Advanced reports. So that's in a nutshell what we're going to cover in the next hour and a half. All right, let's start with a quick plug. I have my own conference. I finally built my own conference that's going to be in Miami. It's going to be October 26th and 27th. It's going to be in Coral Gables, a really nice kind of bougie place in Miami, in Hotel Colonnade. Beautiful property. We're going to have my friend Ron Baker and Chris Doe speakers. You don't know Chris Doe. He's a YouTube celebrity from the non-accounting world. He's the total opposite. He's from the creative world. And we're gonna have a couple of coaches like Vanessa, my friend here in the webinar. She'll be there as well, and we're super excited to have her. And it's gonna be about rethinking your business model for your accounting firm in the age of automation, globalization, commoditization, and AI. Like, what do we need to do as accountants to rethink how we approach business to stay relevant and just not be completely steamrolled by what's going on with software. It's going to be a small place, 100 attendees max. We already sold 59 tickets, so like we have absolutely no fear that this thing is not going to sell out in the next probably couple of weeks or so. The standard ticket price is $1,000, and if you buy it before the end of July, it's going to be $850. Just go to the link in there in the slides, altaccountant.com/creative if you want to sign up for that, and we'd love to see you there. Let's go to industry news. So QuickBooks, about a month ago, Intuit, about a month ago, they announced their new strategy, which they're basically going to train all their ecosystem. This is QuickBooks Online, this is Credit Karma, this is MailChimp, on LLM, on, let's call it ChatGPT style AI. And when they achieve this, and it's a letter that basically says this is what we plan to do. But the synopsis of this is, when we achieve this, the user is going to, instead of click things, calculate things, enter transactions, they will be sort of chatting with their Intuit apps, okay? And based on what you tell it, it will be reacting to it. And also you will be sort of chatting with your financial data. So you say something like, what's my biggest expense? And it will give you the biggest expense. And you're not clicking on anything. You're not running reports. You're not doing filters and that sort of thing. So that's kind of like what their vision is. Nothing has been shipped yet. So it's more like, hey, believe them, it's coming. And let me tell you, it's coming. Now, will it be excellent? I'm going to say no. Will it be good enough? Probably. Okay. I mean, who knows what kind of team they pull together to do this and that sort of thing. I know if Intuit were to hire me to do it, it would be incredible. We know that. It would be the best AI system ever. But no, I'm just kidding. It's probably going to be really good, but like all things, it might take 2 or 3 years for it to be something you go, oh, okay, I totally see how this transforms, the way we approach accounting. Because most accountants were a little bit skeptical that, AI can actually really, truly change, how we end up looking at this and approaching this. We're sort of so used to it working the old way that we're kind of skeptical that the new way is going to make any difference. Now, QuickBooks Online Accounting Portal has been added to what's called the global account. Okay, so QuickBooks Online Global is what we call the non-main markets. So like if you're in Colombia, if you're in Dominican Republic, if you are in Spain, if you are in, I don't know, I can't think of countries for some weird reason, but if you are anywhere that's not US, Canada, UK, or Australia, your QuickBooks Online account will be considered QuickBooks Online Global. And then if you were an accountant before this big change, you could not add your QBO Global client per se in your accountant portal. So they finally opened that up. Now, that doesn't mean that there's Pro Advisor programs available across the board. Across the board, outside these markets, like to be a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, you sort of still need to be in this main markets. I don't think there's any true offerings of. Hold on one second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So another important thing, and sort of a continuation of this conversation, is there has been multiple discontinuations of what were Intuit's attempts to create new main markets per se. So QuickBooks Online India, which used to be its own main market, that has been fully discontinued last year. It was a big deal. In early 2023, I believe it was May, they fully finished discontinuing QuickBooks Online Mexico. In June 2023, just now, they discontinued QuickBooks Desktop UK. Now, that's not, the QBO is still very much entrenched in the UK market, and they're growing that market, but Desktop UK got killed. So now we're left with two main markets per se with QuickBooks Desktop, which is the US and Canada. That's it. We're down to two. And I don't want to try to be a predictor, but they'll probably kill Canada, and then US will be the last desktop market. And who knows how long that will be for. And they've also announced that at the end of this year, they will discontinue QBO France as well. So all these QBO India, Mexico, France that they're discontinuing, they're going to sort of revamp into QuickBooks Online Global. So they'll basically just become part of the global market. So just I know if you're in the US and you don't work with international clients, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But I wanted to make sure you understand exactly what that means. Intuit also announced today, I literally got the email this morning before the webinar, that they're discontinuing this thing called Trata by QuickBooks. A couple quarters ago, I covered like this idea that they had to create a marketplace of or some things. I don't know. Never understood what it was, but it was this thing called Trata by QuickBooks, and they discontinued it as of today, and they put an email out for you to use if for whatever reason you were affected by it, but don't really pay much attention to that. Now, Vanessa, you can unmute yourself. I want to say, first of all, congratulations to the top 100 QuickBooks Online Pro Advisors that were announced a couple of months ago at Scaling New Heights. And there's links so you can see the top 100, the top 10. And our friend Vanessa from South Florida and a longtime colleague was Pro Advisor of the Year. So I want to give her recognition and say, hey, look, I have a celebrity in my webinar. So that's pretty awesome. So Vanessa, congratulations, good job. And if you want to say something, or maybe you want to skip to go straight into the QuickBooks stuff, we can go in there and then we can have you comment on that.
Thank you so much for having me today. It is my honor and my pleasure to be able to represent our community as a Pro Advisor of the Year. It is wonderful to be here with you, giving the QuickBooks updates. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that.
Right. Awesome. So let's get right to it. So QuickBooks Checking now offers $5 million of FDIC insurance. What in the world does this mean? I worked for a bank for several years, and the FDIC insurance have always been $250,000. There's been lapses in periods of economy turndowns where the government bumps that to $500,000 or $1 million. And essentially, the U.S. government guarantees if a bank goes under up to $250,000. Now, recently with the Silicon Valley Bank going under and people freaking out about that, people are worried about, okay, if I have more than $250,000, where should I put my money? Do I need to put in a bunch of different banks? Because if the bank goes under, can I lose that money? What Intuit did, it's brilliant. Let me tell you, I mean, this is one of these weird things that is difficult to see the tangible value on immediately. But I don't know how they came up with this idea, but it's freaking brilliant. So what QuickBooks did is they pulled a bunch of banks together. It's 20 banks. And if they have any customers that want to put their money in QuickBooks Checking, because QuickBooks is now a bank, they sweep overnight enough money across those 20 banks to be able to extend the FDIC insurance up to $5 million. Look, as an ex-banker, I could tell you, I did not see that coming. That's just such an interesting approach. And there's the link to that if you want to kind of see how they do it. It's transparent for customers. And look, honestly, I've been using brick and mortar banks forever. I worked for Wells Fargo. I use Bank of America. I use Chase. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit lopsided on liking those type of banks instead of virtual banks. And QuickBooks Checking is really a virtual bank, but come on, this is brilliant. And I think all the other banks are going to follow suit. Relay Bank, the big sort of online banks like Relay Bank and QuickBooks Checking are sort of competition. And there's probably a whole bunch, but the only one I really have used is QuickBooks Checking and Relay Bank. So just letting you know what that is. So there is a Firm of the Future article, and I'll put the link there in the description, that is kind of warning, telling people, hey, this is coming. A selected amount of customers are going to receive an offer by QuickBooks that for $50 a month, they will do assisted bookkeeping. Now, assisted bookkeeping, the way they describe it, is different than their full service bookkeeping, also known as QuickBooks Live. Because with QuickBooks Live, there's actually an employee, a human being, that is responsible for seeing the bookkeeping through, responsible for reconciling the banks, making adjustments, collecting documents from the end user, that sort of thing. And that starts at $200 a month. I believe it's $200 to $600, I believe is the range that they have. And whether or not I'm a fan of QuickBooks Live, that's a whole nother conversation. We can do a whole podcast or webinar on that, different conversation. But essentially what they figured out is that a lot of customers that are using QuickBooks Live are doing the work. They're doing the work. And they're really only using this QuickBooks Live bookkeeping to put finishing touches and stuff. And when they essentially found this out, okay, so when essentially this ended up being what they found, they're like, you know what, could we have a micro version of live bookkeeping where the customers still do all the work, 100% of the work, But now, instead of having like a technical support person you call for questions, now you have a quote unquote trained bookkeeper, trained accountant giving you the support. So what they're testing is, could they get customers to pay an extra $50 to offer real support? I think that's essentially what it is. Because a tech support from QuickBooks can never really offer accounting support, bookkeeping support. They're not accountants. I mean, can you imagine how expensive it would be to have a call center full of trained accountants? And not just how expensive it would be, could you even find them? Because, like I have such a tough time finding my employees or my future employees. So Vanessa, I'll let you chime in on this one. Sorry, I haven't let you chime in. What are your thoughts about this?
On this new $50 assisted bookkeeping, I really believe that Intuit is looking to, yes, definitely improve on the technical support that we get, but I think it needs more. We need more of a understanding of what the accounting is all about. Not only having engineers in the back end, but also having accountants teaching or training on the engineers that is on the back end. Giving an assisted bookkeeping means a lot of different things. That is not only just a quick delete, like what the technical support that we're receiving right now, that our customers are receiving, and then we have a mess and we have to clean it. It gives more business to us, but then at the same time, it does a lot of damage to the books of the clients. So I think that there needs to be more of the support from the accountants instead of only from a technical support that does not know how the accounting works.
So I wonder if long term, and yeah, I don't mind saying this publicly. I've told Intuit employees this. Long term is QuickBooks Live are offering this enhanced services. It's really for the purpose of offering an extra service, or is it really for the purpose of understanding with human beings, boots on the ground, talking to people, what is the work that accountants do? So when they start creating automation tools and AI tools, they have first-hand knowledge on what are like the things that people do a lot of tedious work on, and try to automate that. Because I think that one of the biggest challenges that QuickBooks has in general to serve us, the users, not the accountants and end users, is that they don't have the resources to like sit down with many accountants and observe the day-to-day stuff, or maybe small business and observe it, so they can really truly understand what they do. So like until they bring an entire workforce of people, with a really huge sample size of as many customers as they serve, could they even get really true insight about what's the work that we do? And I believe that maybe this is not the strategic intent, but it'll certainly be, if they're smart, it will be the happy accident that they're gonna learn tons of insight about like the work that we do. So the article itself also mentions that they will not be marketing this to users that have an accountant attached, that has a pro advisor attached. So let's hope that doesn't happen. So that's pretty good. So essentially, what I think is they figure they're gonna, if this works, they're gonna figure out how to charge for good support. I guess. I don't know. All right, let's move on to QuickBooks Online price changes. You want to say something else, Vanessa, or no?
So the way that I see the QuickBooks insights from using an in-house bookkeeper, and the improvement that we see in some of the products, it needs to be done in conjunction with what we do, right? The future automation means that we are involved into the accounting of all of our clients, but also on the process that arrive into QuickBooks and wants to start their own accounting, and they receive a backup or a support that is not the support that needs to be done. So I really think that we may see QuickBooks going into the direction of the AI and understanding where it's going through, but we need, for accounting itself, we need more of the understanding of the accountants. Yes, we can set up rules. Yes, we can automate a bunch of stuff, but still we need the brains of an accountant to be able to accomplish all the things that the world of QuickBooks needs.
Yes, I agree 100%. So QuickBooks Online price changes. So starting August 1st, QuickBooks Online Self-Employed, Essentials or Plus are going up by $5, and Simple Start and Advanced are staying unchanged. So as you see on the screen, this is the new set of options that is for monthly fees. I believe that some people are on different schedules, like accountants with customers paying the wholesale rate. That may change September or October or something like that. For the general public, these are the new prices. So essentially, Essentials goes from 55 to 60, and Plus goes from 85 to 90. What's semi cool about this, just as a nerdy mathematician, is Simple Start is 30, Essentials is 60, and Plus is 90. So they're exactly $30 apart. So that's for whatever that means. I mean, I think it would have been cool to make Advanced 120 and then like stay the pattern. I think that would have been cool. But again, yeah, right. Like it would be awesome if they did something like that. And, right. It doesn't have an extra $110 a month worth of value. It's a different conversation. QuickBooks Intuit has been very aspirational as to like the value of QBO Advanced, and they're getting there. They're bridging the gap, but the gap's still quite large. Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. All right. So the other changes are coming in QuickBooks Online Payroll. So the per employee fee of QBO Payroll Core is going from $5 to $6, and the monthly base of Premium, that's the only one that's changing in the monthly base of Payroll Premium, is going from 75 to 80. So the per employee cost of $8 on Premium stays, and the per employee cost of $10 on Elite stays. And this is cool. These are now all $2 apart, which is like, okay, again, you did it here, great. Can we do it with Advanced? That would have been even more interesting. Okay, moving on to my favorite child, RightTool. RightTool is for the people that don't know, it's an app that I designed with my friend Mark, and it's an add-on for QuickBooks. And RightTool, the app, if you want to check it out, this will be a 1-minute infomercial. So we added the ability to copy a report to the clipboard. So if you're looking at a P&L, you hit copy. That means you can paste your P&L anywhere, Excel, ChatGPT, Word, whatever. So that's interesting. That way you don't have to export it to Excel and then copy and paste, or export it to CSV, copy and paste will kind of save you a step there. We also have the ability to copy original bank memo from banking to correct errors. So many times when you are downloading stuff from the bank, maybe by mistake you changed something in them. You changed the original memo, deleted the original memo, maybe didn't even enter the original memo because you didn't have the option to have it automatically flow in, or maybe an end user will go in and change something or add something. So you, with a one click, you'll be able to restore the original memo that was downloaded from the bank into the memo, the transaction, so you can see it in the reports correctly. So that was pretty cool. One of those really simple things to implement. That was awesome. We also added auto print on reconciliation reports. This is a crowd favorite, like standing ovation crowd favorite. Basically, you click reconcile, it'll pop up a new window. It'll pop up the reconcile report. Hit print for you automatically. One click, you can print or save as a PDF. So that's really cool. People like that. We also added the ability to batch edit multiple transactions in the register. So if you need to change the payee, for example, of a bunch of checks that you put the wrong payee in it, you can use the batching feature to change the payee. You can change the memo. You can add a memo, replace a memo of a payee in batch from your register, and you can do accounts and classes and locations. But you could already do that with accounting tools anyway, so that's not really that sexy. Oh, you can replace the date and you can replace the reference number. So if you have a whole bunch of, let's say, transactions with numbers in the reference number, and you just want to replace that with like debit or ACH or whatever, you can do that. Or so it's really neat, worth looking at, especially for cleanup jobs. The ability to copy down any detail in transactions. So we're basically inspired this from QuickBooks Desktop. Some screens in QuickBooks Desktop allow you to copy down where maybe you have a journal entry and you have 10 lines and you put a class, location, customer, job in the first line, and then you don't want to go in there and like click on the drop down menu on each line. You click one button and it copies it down through the entire transaction. That's really cool as well. Also, the ability to batch delete transactions from the customer detail screen and from a vendor detail screen. We also did a quick zero out for inventory. I know for cleanup, I need that all the time, where I want to just like load up on my inventory and make it all zero in one shot. So we created a mechanism for that. The ability to copy and duplicate deposits is also a crowd favorite because you can't do that right now. Then we have the ability to, and this is like one of these experimental beta features that we're working on right now, which is changing the source account of a sales receipt or a payment. So, when a lot of people, when you start receiving payments and you put them in the bank and you really wanted them in undeposited funds, or you put them in the savings and you really wanted it in the checking or something like that. So we can go back in batch and change that and clean that up for you. Find and replace text. So if you have something in the description or memo field across multiple lines in a journal entry, like you want to add the word July or something like that, you can do it all in one shot with that. We also have some automated clicking on rules creating your workflow. So if you're an advanced user, you know this. When you create a rule, when you create a rule from bank feeds, it creates it only for the bank account that you're working on, and it doesn't do it for all bank accounts. So we created like an override that automatically did that. Or when you create a rule from scratch, it automatically selects description instead of bank text. And again, this is all like if you're only advanced users really understand what I'm talking about. This is Chinese to everybody else. But when you create a bank rule, it automatically selects description, which is really not useful, and you want to have it in bank text. So we automate that click for you. And a bunch of little things where we basically automate a couple clicks. Right. Forcing somebody to have a payee before they can save the rule. So you cannot create rules without payees. That's huge. Oh, and also we can completely disable auto add. So like if somebody's using this feature and they try to create a rule, they won't be able to do an auto add. So that's pretty neat as well. I mean, there's a bunch of things. Again, I wanted to make this short. We also created a quick link in the custom. Like if you're in a particular customer window and you click on that customer, it gives you a P&L by customer. Okay. Then the save button. So you know how some transactions have a save and some only have save and close or save and new, and sometimes you just want to save and like stay there. Well, we added a save button across all transactions. So the ones that we're missing, that's there. We also extended the default matching range, date range for transactions. So when you like have a check that you want to match with the bill, but it's not within like 90 days of that, you have to go in there and change the dates to expand the date range to pick the transaction. So we allow you to do it 9 months, 12 months. You actually get to pick how far you want to go. We also added a quick utility that allows you to remove zero amount lines from journal entry. So like if you have this journal entry that you create every month, and sometimes you'll have like lines that just have zeros, and you don't want to sit there and click on the little trash can, you can just click a button and it deletes them all for you. Okay. So restrict credit card payment transactions. That's like that was released yesterday, literally. So if you turn that on and the user that's using RightTool, they won't be able to create transfers that was already there or credit card payment transactions from bank feeds. And lastly, we have another super beta version, which is the ability to change the customer project from transactions. So batch change, batch add, that sort of thing. We have that tool. So most of these things, about half of these are included in the free version and the other half are in the paid version. So again, if you never heard of RightTool, I'm telling you, it would change your world. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna launch a quick poll, and I'll let Vanessa chime in. Vanessa, have you tried any of these? Are any of these like your favorite?
Well, RightTools excite me the most. Everything excites me the most. But one of the main features that is the new features that we just launched that really excites me is the one with the rules, the one that you cannot add rules without the pay that is not that auto add. When it's turned off automatically, it is marvelous, beautiful. It is so ingenious. Definitely a part of the description change to the bank text, and all that information that we can do through the bank rules is definitely one of my favorites, besides the fact that we can batch delete, and there's some other different features in RightTools that have been there, and that I really advise people to, yes, you can try it with a free trial, but just go to the pro version. It has so much more to offer that definitely you will take advantage. It is the live before RightTools and then after RightTools. That is, I will never go back to not having this tool as part of QuickBooks.
Yeah, so like we often like to call RightTool what we dream QuickBooks could be. That's kind of what we call RightTool. Because you need QuickBooks for it. It's not a separate tool. It's like, and just for some quick context, while I have the polling question in, again, we have quite a few people that have not used it at all. Like we have like over 100 people in this webinar have used it at all. Essentially, what it is ends up being a little bar on the right hand side, and there's a whole bunch of tools in there, and then all the additional features get activated when you turn that on. Okay, all right. So that's it for that. Lastly, it's 2023 conference season. I'm gonna be at Bridging the Gap in Chicago. I believe the ticket is $7.99 for that. I'm gonna be at Miami Tax Convention in Miami. This is not my conference. This is my friend Carlos Ramirez. That's gonna be September 19 and 2021. It's all about tax, and they have a Spanish track and an English track. I happen to be in the Spanish track, and I happen to be teaching QuickBooks Online Banking for tax preparers in Spanish. So think about that niche of market, that they squared me in. Then in October, I'm gonna be in my own conference, Creative Business Model for Accountants. Friend Vanessa's gonna be there as well. And then of course, can't miss it, QuickBooks Connect in Las Vegas. And what was surprising this year is $1,100 per ticket. And some people have told me that they can't use a coupon anymore. Vanessa, I don't know if you've heard, you gotta pay full price. Yeah. So if you want to go to QuickBooks Connect, which is basically a big ass party with QuickBooks advertising in the background. So I would say that's probably the best way to explain it. Like just like a 3-day QuickBooks Online infomercial with free drinks and hanging out and having fun. I would probably right, best way to describe it. I will be speaking there. I don't know what speaking I have. I do know that I signed the contract saying I will speak, so I'll speak something. I couldn't speak last year because I was voiceless. So this year I'm coming in hot on the speaking for QuickBooks Connect. All right. Okay, now just a couple of interesting little things here. I've heard through the grapevine that there's going to be another change to the left navigation bar. The good news is I think this is net positive, especially if you are an accounting professional or someone that has been using QuickBooks for a long time. I think the change that is coming is net good. So what we've heard is that the whole concept of a business view, having an entirely different UI interface and menu than the accountant view, is going to go away. And essentially what QuickBooks is thinking about is what is the sort of the best of both worlds. So what I think is going to be happening in the next quarter or so is you're going to see more and more company files adapting what's now known as the accountant view, which is the menu that has the little bubbles that come out. Let's do that really quick. Let's go into QuickBooks and kind of walk you through that. So right now, the menu you're seeing is called the accountant view. And what's different about this is the font's a little bit bigger compared to the business view. And also when you click on any of the sub-menus, you get the bubble, or you get that little sort of extended menu to the right-hand side. This is my preferred view. This is the way I like seeing it, by the way. This is my own personal preference. So I hope that this is the route that they go to. And right now, if you switch to business view, and most non-accountants, when they create an account, it defaults to business view. And since most people don't have really the creativity to click here and then see what happens when you click on accountant view, essentially this menu ends up being the universe that these business owners, QuickBooks users are in. And what's different about this is when you click on any of these sub-menus, you don't get that little bubble that comes out to the right. It actually stays within the same left navigation bar. And I understand why they did this. I totally see the value from a design perspective. Like I see, the value on not taking extra real estate on the screen. But because this is so sensitive, look, I'm just moving the mouse around. I find that this little animation ends up being more confusing and distracting. So what I truly like is where the accountant view is. And I think that if they do, in fact, leave this menu in, and also leave the fact that you can go to menu settings and customize the menu and add additional bookmarks. That was an awesome add-on, by the way. That's going to be a net positive. So this is what we're hearing. We're hearing that this is coming to the left navigation bar in Q3 of 2023. The other thing worth mentioning is a few company files you're going to start seeing the new add customer, add vendor, add contractor, add product service shortcut or link in the new menu. Let me skip out of that and show you. So when I click on new, notice that there's add customer, add vendor, add contractor, and add product service. Not so much of a big of a deal, but it wasn't available in all the menus before. Now it's being rolled out across to all company files. The other really cool feature to discuss is the customizable dashboard. Now this has been happening for a while, but I mean the feature itself has existed for a while. But what I think they finally did, and let me go to business overview here. It finally is like they finally rolled out the customizability feature to everyone. So you should see a button here that says Customize Beta, and then when you click on that, essentially it puts the little green highlight on top of each of the boxes, and this allows you to either move them, shift them, wherever you want to. So you're sort of building your own dashboard, your own KPIs. You can, on top of moving them, you can also delete them if you don't want to see them. Just click on the little trash can, and that all goes away. And then you can click on where it says add remove widgets to add yours manually, or you can click on reset layout and then click on reset layout, and it'll essentially sends you back to the default view. Now, when you click on add remove widgets, these are the options that you see now: bank accounts, expenses, income, profit and loss, and sales. We don't have customizable widgets yet. I wish they would add that, but that's not customizable yet. So you're going to get what you're going to get. And hopefully they're going to be adding more things to the dashboard here. Now, if I click on the bank accounts one, for example, which is particularly different than the other ones, this one can be customized in terms of size. So like if you have a lot of bank accounts, I can make this, let's say, 2 layers deep, and then I can move this one here. So basically I'm going to click on done. I get to customize. Let me see if I can move this here. Done one more time. Oh, okay. Well, it's not, it doesn't stick all the time, but it gives you a general idea for what this screen is looking like. And I love where they're going with this. Now, keep in mind, this is different than let me see, where's the other dashboard? The reports dashboard. So there's something called the Performance Center, where you can create custom reports and new charts. This is in QuickBooks Online Advanced only. So anything that you see here on the Performance Center, that's QuickBooks Online Advanced. Whereas I was talking about the Business Overview, which is available in all versions. I think Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, and Advanced. So again, it's the Business Overview that I'm referring to here, not the Performance Center per se.
I absolutely love that.
Let's go to new merge contacts features. So imagine you have multiple vendors that, like for example, all these right here. Let's say all these right here were created by mistake. This should just be called, for example, transfer to personal, right? So the way you would basically take all these vendors that say online transfer to checking. I'm just gonna put here to checking to see if we can filter these. So the way I would merge these, and so the traditional way I would merge this is I would take, and I'm gonna rename one. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna go to edit here, and I'm gonna call this one transfer to personal. I'm just gonna put that in there to just be consistent. So imagine this is like sort of the destination pay name here, which is the transfer to person to checking. Just forget about the specific words, but let's say that's what I want them all to be. So the traditional way of merging the vendor is I would have to, usually the best thing is to copy, like literally copy to the clipboard, edit one of the vendor names by clicking on it and then clicking on edit, and then changing the display name to match the same display name as what we call the destination name, which is the one that you're going to merge into. And that's a really important distinction, because address, email, like anything that's here in the contact window, all this information, only the destination one is the one that stays. So whatever the source one is, you lose that. So if you should be very careful about that. So the one you're pasting, the one that you're changing to, that's the 2 is the one that keeps all the data. So once I click on save, it's going to now tell me, hey, wait a minute, you can't give it this name. Would you like to merge it? So this mechanism works pretty well. QuickBooks Desktop users are used to this type of mechanism. To be 100% honest, I'm not a fan of how many clicks that takes. That's just, it's. I'm gonna say it. It's ridiculous, like the amount of clicks that it takes. So this new thing, this new feature to merge is really cool. It's hidden in this little drop down. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna click on it first. Let me go to transfer. Let me click on it first. Where am I? There you go. So it's hidden inside this drop down menu. And again, I don't love how difficult it is to find, but that's why I'm here for. I'm here to create the videos to show you how to do these things. So I'm gonna go to merge contacts, and then this little pop-up shows up, and then it tells you, okay, which is the from and which is the to. And in this case, if this is the one that I want to keep the information, then I want this one to be the one that goes into, right? That's the one. Oh, whoops, I don't know what I did. Let me do this again. So delete that. Okay. So that's the one I want to go into. All right. And then I'm going to choose the one I'm going to merge from. So I think this had the word to checking in it. So I'll pick this one, and then I click on merge contacts. Now, unfortunately, it would be super cool if you could just pick multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, just merge them all in one shot. That's not there. Okay. I venture to say, it's probably not complicated to make it happen, but okay, let's give QuickBooks the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they'll figure this out. Maybe they'll watch this webinar and go, yeah, duh, we should have done that. But it's one by one. Yeah, control, check multiple. That would be just such a beautiful thing. It would be such a beautiful thing. But at least one by one still works well. So we pick that, click on merge contacts. That's there. Now, you know what I would love? Merge and new merge or something like merge and new or something. So I could keep the window open and I don't have to continue to do that. That would be like super awesome, especially if a merge and new type of thing will keep the into. That way, then I can go to the next one and do that. So if merge and new was possible, and it would keep the same into, okay, that would be a huge plus for me. The much better plus would be if I could select multiple and do that. Now, a couple other things that are worth mentioning, which is something that I know people are going to be asking in the chat, is like, well, can I take a customer and merge it into a vendor? So the answer is absolutely not, and not because the feature is lacking. It's because the structure of QuickBooks, the way the database works, the way things are linked together, it's like, okay, no, it cannot be done. Cannot merge customers and vendors together. It's never going to work. Cannot merge employees to vendors together. It's never going to work. They need to be within the same category per se. You cannot merge projects yet, so that would be kind of interesting if you could. But you cannot merge projects. You can merge sub customers, but you cannot merge projects. But it's nice that you can merge customers as well. Now, the interesting about this is the discoverability for merge contacts. It's in the vendor screen. If I were to go to the customer screen, so again, if this was designed by logical people, okay, the Intuit, please, for the love of Christ, okay, it's not in here. Oh, never mind. I'll take it back. QuickBooks, thank you very much. You did your homework correctly. So it wasn't there like a week ago. So never mind. Beautiful job. Thank you very much. It's now in both places. Love it. Okay, that's it. I'm done with that. Not going to talk bad anymore about QuickBooks because this stuff comes back to haunt me. It would also be nice if you can see it here. Because it's just difficult to discover. So I think QuickBooks should make it easy to discover. But good job at putting it both customers and jobs. I'm telling you, for a while it was only in vendors, and I have a video on YouTube to prove it. So, but I give this feature. I'm gonna, believe it or not, I give this feature 4 out of 5 because it's well designed. Okay, it works exactly as intended. I just think that for it to be a 5. It would be nice to do multiple at the same time. It would be nice to do like a merge and new if that's not possible. Because most of the times when we're cleaning up, we're not merging 2 things only. We're merging like a gazillion things, right? It would also be kind of neat if it could be easier to find for the average. Vanessa, any thoughts?
This new contact merge tool, what I believe, it is very good. But I still think that we can just, with a control, we can select maybe some more than just only one. I really think that we can work, or that Intuit can work on maybe being able to select several ones and being able to merge them. Definitely the understanding of where they're going, or it is very important, but we definitely need to improve a little bit more. But it works perfect so far. It really helps us work with the client and understanding where the client wants to merge, or the duplicates that we have in our client's book. So it really, really helps us improve the procedures and the cleanup of the client.
Yeah, I think what it would be even better, honestly, and I don't know if you thought about this, is if I could go grab like a bunch of contacts like this, select them, and then click on the maybe batch actions and go to merge. Oof, that would be a game changer. That would be an absolute game changer. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, especially when if you want to do like, you know, as I did it, you know, you want to use like let's say I have 17 Starbucks and they all start with Starbucks and they have a bunch of name out. You do put star, it's filter, select all, boom, you can do that. I mean, that could be a game changer. And believe me, I'm looking into like, can I do this with a third party app? The problem is that merge is not in the API, so like third party apps do not have access to merging. So and there's a lot of sort of like manual clicking to do this. So this is something that would probably have to be fixed by QuickBooks before it could be fixed by a third party. All right. Next thing, QuickBooks Time, the phone app. It's now called QuickBooks Workforce. QuickBooks Payroll has not been rebranded into QuickBooks Workforce, but I have reason to believe that the entire employee management ecosystem of QuickBooks is going to be rolled into this concept that they call workforce management. So for now, you're just going to see a new icon on your phone, and the screen has been revamped and redesigned. It's a little bit more colorful, more easy to use. And when people are, when your employees are clocking in, they can clock into specific jobs, and that's always been there. But you know, that's essentially why people would do QuickBooks Time or QuickBooks Workforce. Now, it's good to mention, this used to be called T-Sheets. T-Sheets used to be one of the favorite third-party apps in the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. And sadly, the founder of T-Sheets, who was a good friend to the industry, died, I believe it was last month or 2 months ago. I'll put a link to the description where they talk about the circumstances of his passing, which I don't want to get into, but interesting sort of side news connected to the, you know, talking about the new workforce changes. Now, Firm of the Future article announced that finally QuickBooks Desktop Mac is available to everyone, that you can click on the gear menu and you can download it. Guess what? I have a Mac. I have QuickBooks. I click on the gear menu, and when I click on Get Desktop App, I click on Download for Mac. Oh, it's working now. Oh, God. Of course. But okay, great. Okay, it's working now. That's it. Great news. Okay, it's working now. You can download the desktop app and you can run QuickBooks Online from your desktop app. Now, I don't use it. I don't like it. I have nothing against the people that use it. I have nothing against the people that designed it. But to be honest with you, I don't understand the appeal. Like, I truly don't understand, why people use the QuickBooks Online desktop app.
Yeah, since RightTool came out, I don't see the necessity or what we need to use QuickBooks Online, Windows app or Mac app. It really doesn't make it doesn't make any changes for me. I use all the different Chromes, so it really makes my life possible. I understand that some people will use it for multiple companies, but I don't see the use.
Yeah. So from the feedback we're getting in the chat is you can have multiple companies open at the same time, and they're just tabs. Where in the QuickBooks in the Google Chrome browsing world, you would have to have different Chrome users, and if you're not like really avid at moving screens around and windows in your screen, I totally get it how you just don't know how to do that. But I just find that most people already have the browser open anyway, because you're looking at the Chase Bank or your email or whatever. So now it's like another application that you're running in your computer. I feel this things down.
I still prefer using whatever browser I have open. Sometimes I have different Google Chrome accounts open and I can have all of them at the same time. Plus, it works perfect with the right tools that I use right now.
Where it works really well, is when you're opening two companies at the same time and you're comparing two balance sheets or whatever, and you're managing intercompany transactions. I totally understand where that would work really well. And again, you have the ability to do that in Google Chrome anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So out of just a quick note on the poll, we have about 19% of you, and that's over 200 answers. 19% of you use it, love it, or use it. Or just it's okay. I use it. 33% of you tried it and didn't like it, and 48% of you never tried it or is hearing it for the first time. Would love to hear on the next quarterly webinar. Did that change your mind? Did that change? The other interesting feature that they added, and it's one of these really minor things, but valuable either way, is you have the ability to add documents, attachments to the employee profile. So you have like an employee contract, or you have, I don't know, whatever information you could have about the employee, you can store it right in QuickBooks, so you don't have to have another system, a Dropbox or secure document portal for that. So that's interesting. You got employee reimbursement reports or whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you would need to have with employees. Vanessa, have you used this? No. Okay. Now, for the folks that do farm accounting, that they've been frustrated with this for a very long time. I don't do farm accounting; it's not my thing. But QuickBooks Online apparently does 943 support. So now it can do agriculture accounting payroll, and that's going to be huge because, like, if you look at a map of how big the U.S. is and the population, like 80% of the U.S. is a farm. So there's tons of business in agriculture, and for a very long time, they've been neglecting the payroll portion of this. I think this is going to bring a whole new group of customers into QuickBooks Online. And I got to tell you something. I've done consulting for. I don't have any like clients per se that I manage, but I do QuickBooks consulting, QuickBooks training. These are not like little tiny companies. These are like real companies with tons of employees, and it's very interesting.
Yes, I have some clients in the Washington State and in California that will be able to use this farming payroll 943 for sure.
Okay, so they're adding the states slowly. Okay, good to know. That's a whole world by itself. Okay, so let's talk about QuickBooks Online Account Advanced. Let's start with QBO Advanced Spreadsheet Sync, editing budgets in Excel. Let me go into QuickBooks, and I made the mistake of not loading Spreadsheet Sync prior to the webinar, so you guys are gonna enjoy the beauty that it is to like get Spreadsheet Sync loaded from QuickBooks Online. So if you've never seen Spreadsheet Sync before, we click on the gear menu, we go to Spreadsheet Sync, then you click on Let's Go. It's gonna open up Microsoft Excel. Sometimes you have to download an update, sometimes it just works. Then you have to like authorize the add-on by logging in again inside Microsoft Excel. So you click on sign in, and again, I'm already signed into QuickBooks, but because this is not the same thing as being logged in into your browser, you basically have to do the entire login process from scratch, and it's likely this will ask me for verification code with my cell phone, which adds to the fun. But if it doesn't, that would be awesome. Let's see. And Vanessa, while this loads, is there anything related to Spreadsheet Sync that's positive that you want to mention?
The Spreadsheet Sync, I have worked with it. I love the fact that we can do this sync with the budgets. It's something that it really works very good. There's certain things that it helps us when we are working with updates information that we may need it as soon as possible, and then we don't have to go one by one or transaction by transaction. That we can just make an adjustment and it goes in the sync. It goes back into QuickBooks. So I'm very excited about that. As long as the clients don't get so used to the spreadsheet sync that they want to do everything in the spreadsheet to be able to pass it to QuickBooks. I am very excited about how the spreadsheet sync is working up to now. I think that some tweaks here and there we still need to work on, but it's working pretty good.
It's major. I'll confess, I don't use this day to day. I've used it a couple of times in some consulting calls, and I discovered this new thing called Manage Budgets. When you click on that, you can edit an existing budget, and what's interesting is it pulls from your budget. Okay, that that is new in the QuickBooks ecosystem because budgets were not in the API before, and I venture to say they might not even be in the API today, but they've opened up access to budgets just to spreadsheet sync. So when you look at like all the budgets that you have, all the active budgets that you have, traditionally you had to only edit the budget inside QuickBooks. And this screen is not that bad. The problem is that anytime we see a grid with information, I would say 95% of accountants think like a spreadsheet. You know, copy down, calculate to the right, add 10%, add 5%. What if here? What if there? Do 20% of this expense to that income. Like that's how we build budgets. That's how we project. And it's just very frustrating to work in a grid like this. So yeah, well, it's just. I mean, like I don't know. I feel really bad for the people that do budgets in QuickBooks, like for a living, like the nonprofits and stuff, because it's like I just feel like it takes them days and days to build a budget.
So to work with budgets without Excel, it is very complicated because we have to go one by one and change it. So when we have it in Excel, it gives us the opportunity of changing it in all the different ways and copy and pasting and doing all the different things that we need to do and then pass it and sync it to QuickBooks. That gives us the opportunity of going to the next level and working faster and more efficient. Sometimes our clients just want to change a whole line or a whole set of lines or maybe whole budget. When I work for nonprofits, they want to change a set of budgets for a specific department, and sometimes we have to change all that. So when we work with Excel, it gives us that opportunity to send it back to QuickBooks and have it all in one place. And when we work in the QuickBooks, then we see that there's a specific spaces or fields that we need to change one by one instead of changing it all together in Excel.
Yep, exactly. And with Spreadsheet Sync, which requires QuickBooks Online Advanced, with Spreadsheet Sync, you can load the budget you have in QuickBooks. And essentially what I would do is just load a budget with a bunch of zeros so you can at least load it in here. And then you have everything here ready to go. What I like is that the accounts are in the column sub format, that it didn't do some weird spacing thing. So I like that a lot. I like that you get the account number, you get the income type, you get the total budget, which is the sum of the entire month. That's great. If you change anything here, this column doesn't sync anyway, so like who cares about that column? It doesn't do anything. But if I change a line item here, and again, imagine a world where I'm changing more than just one line item, and I'm using the traditional Excel exercises that I do. You change the number, you go to sync to QuickBooks, and then in theory, when this works, and I have no reason to think that it wouldn't work, but with QuickBooks and live webinars, you never know. It's almost like they're sometimes they're like designed to give you an error. So I changed the first line, which is maybe an income account of sorts, billable expense income. I changed the June 2023 to 5,000. So what that means is when I go back into QuickBooks here, I'm just going to X out of this, and then I go to my overview. I should see that dollar amount in June 2023. There it is, right there, billable expense income. So I'm going to tell you something. I've been very incredulous and very critical of Spreadsheet Sync because it got off to a super rough start, and it's still not my favorite. And like QuickBooks and Excel are like my two babies. And I RightTool now, so I got three babies. So they're my two babies, and I've always dreamed of a world where these two things fuse together. I mean, I know I've had dreams where like QuickBooks and Excel was one app, and like in my mind, like everything was incredible. So I totally get it. It's just this is not an easy thing to like make work. So it's required tons of trial and error, tons of frustration. and they have a full team dedicated to this. And I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like Spreadsheet Sync is going to be something useful. Now, there's a whole bunch of issues like, some fields are not available, like custom fields are not available because they're not available in the API. So QuickBooks has to like add custom fields. I mean, there's a bunch of things that QuickBooks has to like continuously add to this. And again, it's only QBO Advanced, so there's only like a micro group of people that use QuickBooks Online Advanced. Where I think this could be huge once Spreadsheet Sync works well is that they make at least Spreadsheet Sync available to accountants, even with the customers that don't have Advanced. That would be a true game changer. As a matter of fact, I think that the promise of Spreadsheet Sync could be even something that QuickBooks can sell to accountants. I would pay $100 a year. I'm not a month. I would pay $100 a year, $150 a year to have access to this tool and be able to batch manipulate these things with my customers. I totally would do that because I'm doing things in RightTool to like do some of the things that this will eventually do.
I'm very excited about the Spreadsheet Sync becoming a tool for pro advisors and accountants for any cleanup because it's faster and we don't have to work on a big spreadsheet, a big QuickBooks in understanding that each of the fields we have to change it. Instead, we have the Spreadsheet Sync and we can change a bunch of numbers without having to work field by field.
Yeah. The next one is custom fields in projects. So if you use custom fields, you've been frustrated that you can't add custom fields in projects. So I have good news and bad news. Okay. The good news is they added custom field in project. The bad news is that it's useless. But we are on step one. We made it. We made step one. We added it. Okay, so we got that done, which is great. So I'll show you exactly what that means. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks Online, and I'm going to go into the gear menu, and this is QBO Advanced, of course. Then I'm going to go into custom fields, and then I'm going to create a new custom field. And let's say I want to call this, I don't know, a site location or something like that. So I'm going to type site location, some information that I don't manage anywhere else in the customer name or the project name. Make this a project custom field. I also want to make it available in estimates and invoices. That sounds like something that would be useful. And then on the data field, I'm going to put the drop down list, and we're going to call this Florida, and the other one's going to be California. So easy. We have two site locations, and there's a custom field. Custom fields are beautiful in QuickBooks Online. They're incredible, by the way. It's just like what you do with them after is the part that's like, really? You're going to miss that opportunity. So again, I'm going to show you the process here. So I create my custom field. It's for a project. It tells you right there it's for a project. Okay. So when I go into projects, let's go into, where are you, projects? When I go into projects, I have all my active projects, and I'm going to go edit the project, and then I want to tell it what is the site location for this project. So this one is Florida. Save. And let's go to the next one. Edit that. And this one is California. Save. So okay, there is a place where you can add the custom field for a project that you already created or for a brand new project. The problem is, where's this information, right? Like, what's the point of putting that in there if you will never get it out? It's like when you hide something because you don't want somebody to steal it, but then you forget where it is, and then you will never see it for the rest of your life. That's exactly how it feels to add a field that you can't use anywhere else. Because logic dictates that I should be able to click on the gear menu and have it there as a column. Logic would dictate that. Logic would dictate that, for example, if I go into this project and I'm going to, let's say, create an invoice or an estimate, that I click on the invoice and it shows up down here automatically when I do that. Okay? Or, and it does. Look, it is. Yeah, but pre-fill it. Pre-fill it. Like why in the world am I adding it? Like, what's the point of adding it if you're not going to pre-fill it? Like, it's there. No, of course, it's beautiful. It's there. But like, for me to like do that double work, again, why?
I totally agree. Which report you said that we can use this custom field in?
So that's the next step. The next step is, Hector, come on, don't be silly. It's going to be on the reports. Okay, no. Like if I go to, I don't know, any reports with projects, like a project profitability summary, the only report that exists with the word project in it, okay? So project profitability summary, customize, filter, no custom field, okay? And then somebody can go back, Hector, don't be silly. We have advanced reports. Advanced reports are amazing. They have everything. Okay, let's say that's true. Okay, so I'm gonna go into create a new advanced report, and let's say it's I'll just do blank here and create. Okay, so I have no data here. So when I go add a column, I should be able to type the word project, and then it's not there. It's not there. The other custom fields are there, but the project custom field is not there. So essentially, what ended up happening is that the idea is great, but like didn't really think through like what this should look like at the end. Now I'm okay with them saying, hey, we just added it. For now, just add them and have it in there. It's coming. Here's the roadmap. Okay, we're gonna add it. We're gonna automatically create it when we do new transactions, and we're gonna have it on the screen, and we're gonna have it in reports. The problem is, and this is the problem I have with QuickBooks every single time they add something new, is that you have no idea when the accompanying report or when the thing that should make that feature make sense will eventually be released. So no one's really truly encouraged to use it. And then they go back and look at it and go, this wasn't a good idea in the first place. Nobody's using it. But then nobody's using it because it's useless. It's not because it's a bad idea. It's a great idea. It's a top idea. Problem is we gotta finish it through. Like we gotta be able to think like with end in mind. You gotta think of the report and then think of the input feature, right? Inputs are useless without the outputs, and that's always been the issue.
Custom fields is something that we really use for most of our clients, just because it is a way to simply put it in a more distinctive way. The only thing is the custom field sometimes doesn't work on reporting, and that is what we're seeing here. When we come to custom fields available in projects, it is there, but then we cannot use it for what we need. And it's where we had the problem we had for the longest time with the classes, where now with classes we can have it in so many different reports, but before it was not available. So now custom fields, I really would love to be able to have a report on it. One of the things that I have for the project level, but we don't have it on the customer level, it is when we work with specific lots. Let's say that, for example, in construction, we have a lot of customers that deal with projects and that they have to set up the specific project levels, and in the project level, they have to have a custom field for a specific set of lots. Let's say that is this whole set of lots, and then we have to divide it by the section. Sometimes the customer wants to see it as a custom field and not necessarily as a single project to do the costing. So it all depends on what we want to see it. Sometimes for trucking companies, we may want to see it as a project level and use a custom field for a specific set of information. So custom fields is very important for the projects. I really do think that the only way that it will work is if we have a report to be able to work on it.
Yep, absolutely. The other really interesting, cool thing they added is they added a visual workflow to the multi-conditional approvals in QBO Advanced. And there already was multi-conditional approvals before, but like they were just very difficult to follow. Now with the visual workflow, it's like, oh man, this is so easy to read and so easy to follow. So I'm going to walk you through it. Have you used it, Vanessa, by the way? This is really cool. I've just started using it. Have you used it?
This visual workflow, I believe that my clients will be able to use it. I do think that for us, it will be more beneficial to introduce it to our customers. And then after we set it up, that it will work magnificent. It will be beautiful to see it work and see it that the client can take it to the next level, especially when big companies that uses QuickBooks Online Advanced will be able to take advantage in seeing in a more clear view. Understanding the visual workflow means that they can do more and more things with this visual workflow than just put it in a line and understanding where is it going. Instead, when we have it as a visual like you're showing, it really gives us the next level of approvals. And not only for approvals, we see that for the workflows, we can set it up for other things. So I really think I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited to see some of my customers implement it and work with it.
All right, let me walk you through it. It's really neat. So you go create a new workflow, and you're gonna be asked, okay, which is the source transaction that's gonna be causing or creating this workflow, and this works good with a transaction approvals. Okay, so let's say we're gonna do a purchase order workflow, a very typical thing, right? Or a bill workflow. That's a bill workflow. That's probably one of the most common things. Then we're gonna select approval, and then we're gonna click on next. So then it'll automatically like just populate a workflow for you, so you can start thinking about it. So we're gonna call this bills over 1,000 and 5,000. Okay, so this is called a multi-conditional approval workflow, where if it's between 1,000 and 5,000, it's gonna be like one person that approves it, like more of a junior person, and if it's 5,000, like it needs to be the owner or the CEO that approves it, that sort of thing. So we start with when the bill is created, what happens when the amount is, and then you click on this little box and it expands it, and you create the condition. So in this case, I'm going to say, look, if the bill is greater than 5,000, okay, and I'm going to click on save. And by the way, you can have more conditions, like it has a particular vendor or a particular location, or a particular person touched it, particular term, and that's only going to expand and get better. So I'm excited about that. And then just to get rid of that, and then you look at the next one. So if it's yes, it's over 5,000. I'm going to select, look, over 5,000, it needs to be Hector Garcia himself, the one that approves it, right? Like the God, right? God, that's the one that needs to approve it. So we click yes. So awesome. And you can click on the checkbox that says email your team. So everybody involved gets an email notification letting them know, hey, this is pending to be approved. Hector approved it, whatever it is. So then we click on save. And that always gets added to the task list. Then we have the next one, which is, okay, if it's between $1,001 and 5,000, then if that is a yes, then we're going to select a different person to approve it. In this particular case, it's going to be, let's say, Alicia, who's like next in line. She's the CFO. Hector is CEO, Alicia is the CFO, right next in line. We're going to email our team and then click OK. And then the next condition is, in this case, it would be if the bill amount in this case is greater than or equal to 1,000, then we're going to give sort of like a more maybe junior person, like Mark is the one that's going to approve it. And then we'll click yes. So that's just a really, really cool. And then and this one at the end, if it's a no, I basically just put it back into the highest person that can do it. Although by this logic, nothing should be a no, right? Because it's basically filtering in. So then you have that. So then we click on save and enable, and that's it. That becomes your bill workflow, right? So then when I go create a bill, so let's just show you what this looks like. When I create a bill and I pick my vendor, and we'll pick a category here at random, and let's say this happens to be $1,001, and I click on save and close. This is gonna go to an approval workflow. Okay, I'm just gonna go open it really quick, and that should have just kicked in, unless I missed something in the process. There's my approval. There it is. Okay, so this needs approval. You see it right there. It needs approval. So if I go into my task list, I can see all the things that are pending, and I'm gonna go to the next page. I'm gonna go to the next page here, and then see that. So I wonder why I'm not seeing it. I could tell you for sure because I'm showing you what test that I did right before. The PO shows. So maybe it's because I have to log in as Alicia to see it. I'm not 100% sure, but trust me when I tell you, it works. I've tried it. It works. It's just not showing on my screen. It's actually a feature that's really well designed, even though for whatever reason I can't see it there. Yeah, why should I see it, right? Although again, if somebody from QuickBooks is watching, I would love to see, even if I'm not the one approving, I would love to see like where all my pending stuff is, so I can get an idea for where it is. So that's not posted yet. It's in QuickBooks. It's not posted because it's pending approval. Okay, the last thing we're gonna cover here, and we have plenty of time, which is great, is the QBO Advanced Reports update. They added a lot of stuff in the screen, and let me tell you, I think everything they added is on point. Everything that is on point. some tiny little opportunities here, but it's really looking really cool. They cleaned up, pivoted, group, and filter options. So instead of having pop-ups, they're on a side drawer, and those pop-ups were weird because sometimes they would pop up on top of each other and you couldn't see them. So the side drawer cleaned that up. They added a new general settings where you can change like the number formatting, and I'm sure all other sorts of like sort of general reporting setting, like making the negatives red and that sort of thing, will start showing up in there. Collapsible header, that's incredible because I need more real estate. Almost always I need more real estate when it comes to reports. And the transaction columns, they have now been organized and grouped by first category, then transaction type, then header attributes, then line item attributes, then linked attributes, then custom fields, and then tags. I don't know why custom fields and tags are their own thing. Technically, they could be a header attribute because that's what they are. They are header attributes. But they I don't know, they have it out there for now, and I'll kind of like walk you through that. All right, so I'm gonna create a report. I'm gonna show you kind of how this works. So I'm gonna go to invoice report, and just kind of starting from like a template. And the first thing that they did was table view and chart view. It's a quick click, and then the same report can either be seen in a chart or in a table with a single click. The date range has been sort of like cleaned up and organized. You can do custom dates and pick whatever date range it was. This feature used to be limited to only 1 year. Now it's unlimited, so I could go back, to the beginning of time, whatever that is, and put that here all the way to today. Now, why when I press T it doesn't give me today's date? That's a whole nother issue, okay? Because you trained me for years to press T, but you're not gonna add it in there. You're gonna drive me crazy. Okay, but you can do custom date range, and then you can also quickly go from pivot to non-pivot. By pivoting, you basically pick two fields, two dimensions per se. So we have invoice number and the date, and then we're gonna do amount, and then so you could quickly build a pivot table, which is I'm not sure if pivot is the right term for this, but it's a summarized chart. Okay, so it does that super quickly. It's limited to number of columns, which I get it totally. Like okay, look how much scrolling do you want to do, right? So I get it, but it's just that's nature of the beast, right? So you can quickly swap from pivoting and not pivoting, typically by just clicking on this little show pivot, not show pivot. So you can have the pivot setting saved, but you can quickly swap. I love that. That's brilliant. Once you don't have it in pivot mode, you can also group stuff and see how it's all right drawer. So I can group these by customer, for example, and then I want to group them by, let's say, shipping date, and I'll do it by year or something like that. So we have things just really neatly organized in here. Whereas by customer and I guess shipping date, I don't have shipping date on any of these. So let's do due date by quarter or something like that. Yeah, that's cleaner. So then it basically groups the transactions. Just like this is a pivot table, by the way. It's a long story short. That's a pivot table, not the other thing. But let's forget it. So but that's a pivot. The whole thing's a pivot table. It's just got two modes, like the summary mode and detail mode. But what they really did was that was kind of transformative is how they organized the fields that the information, the report building process, which is the most difficult thing. Like when I train people on this tool, which by the way I've done it for the last 2 years, I've been using this tool since beta. I'm probably one of the most experienced people with the advanced reporting tool. And every month that I train them, the screen looks different. So it's gone through tons of transformations, which makes it difficult to create like the one video for people to use as a reference. So you gotta continue to do videos, I guess. Job security for trainers, I guess. But what's really cool is when you customize the fields, the stuff is very easy to find now. Like I have all my sales transactions, I have all my expense transactions, and then I have all my other entities. They call it entities. In QuickBooks Desktop, they call it lists. But it's all like pretty easy to find. The one thing that you will notice is the minute you pick one entity, so if I pick an invoice, everything else gets disabled, right? Because it would just be way too convoluted, okay? What that means is you cannot get combined information that is linked. So I couldn't get a report with payments and invoices at the same time. I couldn't get bills and bill payments, which is something they've been working on. Trust me, I've been working with with the product manager in this. It's a very difficult thing to solve. So for now, you're gonna pick one entity, and that's it. That's gonna be the entity that you pick. However, there's an interesting entity here called transaction, and the transaction entity allows you to do multiple things. So if you want to do invoices, sales receipts, credit memos, and refund receipts, which is all your sales category, you can do it through transaction. So just keep in mind that if you want to work only one specific transaction type, entity type, start with that. But if you want to do like multiple of sort of the same category, checks, credit card charges, or checks, expenses, bills, and bill memos, which are all vendor credit, sorry, all those things are the same category. You can do it using that transaction. So it's very easy to follow. Now I'm gonna let me create one from scratch and show you one thing here. Let me just start a blank one here. So when you start building from zero and you come in here, notice everything is enabled. So I get to pick whichever entity or transaction type. If I do invoice, notice how I have the very first one says line items. And this goes back to Vanessa's been using QuickBooks Desktop forever too. We got the source, we got the destination, we got the summary, we got the detail, whatever you call it. It's following the same logic, which is great for people that have been using QuickBooks Desktop for a while, because we sort of start understanding where I'm drawing the information from, right? Like if I'm pulling a location, I'm pulling it from the source. If I'm pulling a product or product name, an item, I'm doing it from the line item, right? So like we need to know like where the data is coming from, and this breaks it down. So line items allows you to pull from specific line items. So I want the line amount, and I want the quantity, and I want the in this case, where's my product and service? Where is my product and service? Let me search it here. Product. Okay. Okay. So it's under linked attributes. So so we go to product and service and add it. So then we start seeing our product and services, our amount, our quantity. So again, inside line items, you have attributes of the line item, and then you have the linked attributes. And the linked attributes are the ones that can have a field that's part of another entity, and not another transaction, but another list, database list. And you kind of have to start understanding how the QuickBooks database works to start making sense of this stuff. And then we see the custom fields and the tags are sort of their own thing as well. Correct. But in my opinion, custom fields and tags are part of the regular attributes anyway. So, but I think they did it this way so they're grouped, or like just neatly organized, so they're not just dumped in there and they're custom fields or tags, because these are all because these are custom, right? Like these are things like not no two customers are gonna see vendor type or marketing source or state. I mean, they could, but it doesn't come like that from scratch.
I absolutely love that.
And the last thing here is the current redesign that the advanced user permissions page is getting. There's a link on the slides here that takes you to an article that kind of explains this in detail. And this is still a moving target. This still changes, feels sometimes every month or every quarter. So I kind of show you what they're working on. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention one more thing. This little button here removes the header. So I know it's only like an inch, but this is one particular case where an inch goes a long way. Okay, so like it helps. Remove that header, collapse that in there. Forgot that's sometimes it's the little things that are mostly useful. So I'm gonna go to Manage Users and show you what's going on in QuickBooks Line Advanced the new roles page. So when you go to role, which is where you create the user permissions, all user permissions are based on a role. I add a new role. Now they're organized by category. So we have sales, expenses, inventory, list. We have a couple of sort of logical groupings to all the places you can access in QuickBooks. Then when you open them, you're going to see little checkboxes next to the ones that they've gotten to. Okay, so like we yet cannot have granular access to these transactions. You either have access to all of them or none of them. Now for invoices and estimates, you can pick it. The user can view, create, edit or delete. So you have some granular access there. You can pick if the customer, the user can only do this from, 2 specific locations, for example. So they can only book things to that location, on invoices and estimates in this case. For expenses, we only have access to doing bills, checks, and expense claims. So we can pick, do that. Now, with expense claims, and this will tell you when a permission breaks another restriction, it tells you, look, to do expense claims, I have to give access to all locations. So then you have to decide whether or not that's a deal breaker. So for checks and bills, same thing, same issue. So basically, right now, if you give them any expense access, they have to be able to put stuff in all locations, right? Just because they haven't got into doing location level granularity in here, okay? Then we have inventory, and which is basically the ability to do stuff with inventory. Again, the whole location filtering messes things up. Right now, this location filter is only useful if you're going to do like a sales only type of permission. So we go down to inventory, we hit the checkbox, then I can't choose. Basically, this is an all or none actually, but at least you have it very clear in your permissions on whether or not they're going to have access to that. Lists. So the way the lists work is, this is more like a calculated permission. It's saying, hey, based on everything else you're choosing, this is the stuff that people have to see. Because you can't have somebody, in this particular case, create an invoice and not have access to the customers, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. So this is more like a calculated permission based on everything else you chose. And then you have bookkeeping. So if you open up bank deposits, you want to be able to do that. And these other things are currently calculated permissions, or things that you don't have access to granular control. And then you go through it. And if you turn on payroll, then they can see employees. Okay, then they can see employees. If you don't turn on payroll, they can't see employees. They kind of go hand in hand. So I think it's really cool where they're heading to, but I think they're running into the complexity that it is to have user permissions. I gotta tell you, as much as a critic as I want to be of the pace of change in this, and because QuickBooks Enterprise does it so well, and not perfect, but does it so well, it's really difficult because when you take away access, I'll give you an example. If you were to take access for someone to see customers, but you do want them to see a balance sheet, how would they be able to see accounts receivable if QuickBooks can't calculate accounts receivable? So then yeah, they can see the overall number of accounts receivable, but not see the customers. Okay, so let's say you do an AR aging, and then you do a permission where you only let a person see certain customers. Well, your AR aging report not going to match the balance sheet. So it's a really complicated thing to do granular user permissions. And Vanessa, I'll give you the last words in the user permissions if you want to, since I know you're a heavy enterprise user, and I think this is an area of expertise of yours. So any thoughts on this?
Well, with QuickBooks Online permissions, in this QuickBooks Online Advanced version, the situation is that I will still think that we can improve a lot more, just because as a QuickBooks Enterprise user, the way that I see it is that we can do so much more, and still we don't have that in QuickBooks Online Advanced. And most of my clients that are in QuickBooks Online Advanced are expecting some level of user restrictions. And the user restriction is very important, just because I want to set up a user that can create but cannot delete. And I still do not have certain actions or transactions available that I can do that is either they can do everything for that specific transaction, or they cannot do anything for that specific transaction. So I really wish that it can be worked a little bit more, especially that the change between pricing that we have in between the Plus and the Advanced is mainly for users permissions, is mainly for reports. And I think that those two areas we can work better, but it's, they're trying to make improvements. And I really think that the improvement that we have seen lately, it has taken a little bit of advantage, but we think that it can work better with other type of permissions. Maybe in our world, as accountants, we think that it's easy to switch. Maybe for them it's not. But at the same time, I really think that that will make such a big difference, such a huge difference between the QuickBooks Online Plus and the QuickBooks Online Advanced to have permissions that really mimic what we have in QuickBooks Enterprise.
With modifying and deleting specifically, like I could totally see a world where I want a user to be able to modify and delete the invoices that they created, not everybody else's, the ones that they created. That's not even available in That's not even available in desktop. Right? Or restrict someone to only be able to use certain classes when they book stuff, or they can't save it until they put a class or the location. Like that's I would say that's half permission, half workflow, really. But like with true ERP systems that outgrow QuickBooks Online Advanced, outgrow QuickBooks Desktop, things like NetSuite and Sage and stuff. That's the stuff that they like worry about. Like they don't care about adding $5 million to FDIC insurance to QuickBooks checking. Like these companies are focused on like what do these large companies need day to day, and I think that's where Intuit misses the mark a lot, especially trying to hit the mid market. Is a lot of time is being spent on flashy stuff that looks really good in marketing, and quite frankly, people are asking for these things, but not a lot. Like these user permissions to me, like again, $200 software, that's double the one that comes under it, the one that's supposed to replace enterprise. I still can only choose invoices and estimates, and I can't choose the other stuff. To like that to me, it's like a big issue because it just doesn't feel like it's getting me closer to the mid market needs. And again, if you can get it just like enterprise, that would be a huge jump. And if you can get it beyond what enterprise can do, that would even be better. Well, it's 90 minutes exact. We don't ever want these webinars to go longer, although sometimes I'm a culprit of breaking that rule. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll put this in YouTube pretty soon. Thank you very much, Vanessa, Pro Advisor of the Year. We have a real celebrity here with us. And I'll see you on the next conference pretty soon. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, and this was very fun. Goodbye to everyone.